The house wakes before I do, or maybe I wake because it does. The wood expands with a quiet complaint as the night loosens its grip, and the old clock in the hallway clears its throat with another second that belongs to no one in particular. Morning light slips through the curtains without asking permission, landing on the same furniture that has not moved in years. I lie still for a moment, listening, counting the small sounds that confirm I am not dreaming. There is no other breathing in the room. There hasn't been for a long time. The space beside me remains untouched, smooth in a way that feels unnatural, like a sentence that was never finished. I rise slowly, not because my body refuses, but because there is nowhere to rush to. Urgency left my life quietly, without ceremony. The floor remembers my feet and answers, with familiar creaks. I make coffee for one, still measuring it the way I used to when there were 2 cups on the counter. The smell fills the kitchen and lingers longer than it should, as if even it knows there is no one else to greet. I sit at the table and let the mug warm my hands, staring at nothing specific, letting memories come and go without chasing them. Loneliness in old age is not loud. It does not announce itself with pain every morning. It settles instead, like dust, gathering slowly in corners you stop checking. When I was younger, I thought loneliness meant being alone. I know now that being alone is sometimes peaceful. Loneliness is different. Loneliness is feeling unnecessary. It is realizing that your absence would not interrupt anyone's routine. The neighborhood has changed, though the street remains the same. New families move in with moving trucks and optimism, children learning how to ride bicycles where my children once did the same. They wave politely sometimes, but they do not stop. I do not expect them to. I am a passing image in their lives, a quiet figure framed by a window, easy to ignore. I watch them leave in the mornings, return in the evenings, their lives folding neatly into schedules I no longer keep. I used to measure time by responsibilities. Workdays, deadlines, school events, anniversaries. Now time stretches without resistance. Days blend into each other so smoothly that sometimes I forget which one it is. I mark them anyway on a calendar that hangs more out of habit than necessity. Writing the date gives the day weight. Without it, the hours feel unreal. After breakfast, I clean what is already clean. The counter shines whether I wipe it or not, but the motion steadies me. I fold laundry slowly, even when it belongs to no one but me. I take care with each shirt, each towel, as if someone might notice. No one does, but the care itself matters. It reminds me that I still can. When my husband was alive, silence had a different meaning. It was shared. We could sit in the same room without speaking, each lost in thought, the quiet connecting rather than separating us. After he died, silence changed its nature. It became absolute. It stopped being a pause between words and became the absence of them entirely. At first, I filled it with the television, the radio, anything that made noise. Over time, even that felt like pretending. Now I let the silence stay. It is honest, if nothing else. People checked on me in the beginning. They brought food, sympathy, advice. They told me to stay busy, to find hobbies, to reach out if I needed anything. I thanked them and meant it. Then their lives continued as lives do. Calls became less frequent. Visits shorter. Eventually, the concern faded into assumption. People assumed I had adjusted. People assume old age comes with acceptance. They are wrong. I go to the grocery store more often than I need to. I walk the aisle slowly, reading labels I do not care about, lingering where people pass by me. No one looks for conversation there, and that makes it easier. Cashiers ask how I am without waiting for the answer. I say fine because it is simpler than explaining something that would make them uncomfortable. I carry my bags myself, even when they offer help. Independence is one of the last things loneliness tries to take. In the afternoons, I sit on the same bench at the park. It faces a path where people walk dogs, push strollers, jog with headphones blocking out the world. I watch them without envy. Envy requires energy. What I feel instead is distance. I am observing a life I once lived, now unfolding without me. Sometimes children smile at me without understanding why. Sometimes they ask their parents questions about me that I cannot hear. I wonder what answers they receive. Friends my age disappear gradually. Some move closer to family. Some grow ill. Some die quietly. Their absence noted only when I realize no one else remembers a shared story. Each loss shrinks the world a little more. There are fewer people who know who I was before time reshaped me. Fewer people who remember my voice when it was stronger, my laugh when it came easily. Family calls on holidays. Birthdays are acknowledged, sometimes late. Conversations are polite, efficient, filled with updates that feel like reports. They ask if I am okay. I say yes because explaining loneliness feels like handing someone a weight they did not ask to carry. They have their own lives, their own pressures. I do not want to be another obligation. Nights are the hardest. Darkness amplifies everything. The house seems larger, emptier. I sleep on one side of the bed out of habit, leaving the other untouched. Sometimes my hand reaches across without instruction, stopping halfway, suspended in memory. Those moments are brief, but they leave marks that last all night. I speak aloud more than I used to. Small comments, reminders, observations. Hearing my own voice reassures me that I still exist. Silence can make existence feel optional. I have learned that loneliness is not cured by company alone. It is eased by being seen, by being known. Those things become rare with age. There are moments of unexpected kindness. A neighbor holding the door. A stranger offering a smile that lingers a second longer than necessary. Another older person meeting my eyes with recognition. These moments do not fix anything, but they soften the edges. They remind me that loneliness is shared by more people than anyone admits. I volunteer at the local library once a week. It gives my time structure. Children come and go, loud and impatient. They do not notice me, but I notice them. I watch how stories still capture their attention, how imagination comes without effort. I wonder who I might have been if I had known earlier how quickly time moves. Society does not prepare people for old age loneliness. We plan for retirement financially, but not emotionally. We celebrate independence without acknowledging isolation. We praise productivity and quietly discard those who no longer produce. Loneliness becomes the tax you pay for living long enough to outlast your usefulness. I am not bitter. Bitterness requires energy I no longer waste. I am aware. Aware of how fragile connection is. Aware of how easily it fades. Aware of how many people sit alone right now, waiting for nothing in particular, just like me. I sit by the window again as evening settles. Lights turn on in houses across the street. Each light contains a life unfolding without me. I wonder if anyone looks at my window and wonders about mine. Old age has taught me that loneliness is not a failure. It is a consequence. It is what happens when love outlives the people who shared it. I am still here. I still wake. I still make coffee.
I still sit on the bench.
I still remember. And in remembering, I carry the life I lived through the quiet that followed. I remain at the window longer than I intend to, watching the rhythm of other people's evenings. Curtains close, televisions glow, laughter escapes briefly before being sealed back inside walls that still know how to hold it. When I finally turn away, the room feels heavier, like it has been holding its breath while I was gone. I move through the house turning on lamps one by one, not because I need the light, but because darkness arrives too confidently when invited all at once. Dinner is simple. It always is. Cooking for one removes the ceremony from meals. There is no one to ask how the day was, no one to complain about seasoning or praise the effort. I eat slowly anyway, forcing myself to stay present. Eating quickly makes the evenings stretch longer, and I have learned not to rush time when it already has too much space. After dinner, I wash the dishes immediately. Letting them sit feels like admitting defeat. The sink reflects my face in fragments as water runs over porcelain. I look older in pieces than I do all at once. Wrinkles deepen under certain light, hands appear thinner, veins more visible. Aging sneaks up quietly, not with a single dramatic change, but with hundreds of small ones that accumulate until the mirror no longer feels like an ally. I sit in my favorite chair afterward, the one by the lamp that casts a soft circle of light on the carpet. I used to read here every night. Now I mostly hold books without opening them. Stories feel different when you realize how many chapters of your own are already written. Still, I keep reading on the shelf. It reminds me that other lives continue forward, even if mine feels paused. Sometimes memories arrive uninvited. Not the big ones people expect, but small, insignificant moments that suddenly feel enormous. The way my husband used to clear his throat before speaking. The sound of keys dropped into a bowl by the door. The weight of another body sitting beside me on the couch. These memories do not hurt sharply anymore. They ache, the way old injuries do when weather changes. I think often about how loneliness evolves. In younger years, it feels temporary, like something that can be solved with effort. Call someone.
Go out.
Change something. In old age, loneliness feels structural, built into the shape of your days. It becomes less about who is missing and more about who will never arrive. Morning comes again, as it always does. The clock performs its duty without concern. I wake from shallow sleep and lie still, deciding whether to rise or wait. No one is waiting either way. Eventually, habit wins. I make coffee, open the curtains, greet the day that does not greet me back. I check my phone, more out of reflex than hope. No new messages. Notifications have become rare enough that each silence feels personal. I tell myself not to measure worth in missed calls. Some days I succeed. Some days I do not. I step outside to collect the mail. Bills, advertisements, catalogs addressed to someone who no longer exists. The mailbox feels heavier than it should. I carry everything inside and place it neatly on the table, postponing the act of opening anything. There is comfort in delaying reality, even in small ways. Later, I drive to the park. The drive itself is quiet, the radio turned low. I pass familiar streets that no longer carry meaning beyond navigation. Places where businesses have closed, replaced, forgotten. Time erases without apology. I park in the same spot I always do and walk slowly toward the bench that has become mine without ever being claimed. I sit and observe. This is what my life has become: observation. Watching without participating. Seeing without being seen. Couples pass by holding hands, sometimes arguing, sometimes silent, but together. I wonder if they understand how fragile togetherness is, how temporary it can be. I hope they never learn the way I did. An older man sits on the bench across from me sometimes. We nod at each other, nothing more. No names exchanged. No stories shared. There is comfort in that restraint. We recognize the same weight in each other. Words would not improve it. When I return home, the house welcomes me with the same stillness it always does. I change clothes even though no one will see me. I keep routines alive because without them, days would lose their edges entirely. Structure becomes a substitute for companionship. Afternoons stretch the longest. There is too much day left and too little energy to fill it. I nap occasionally, not because I am tired, but because sleep shortens the hours. Dreams come lightly and leave quickly, rarely kind enough to include the past in recognizable ways. I wake disoriented sometimes, unsure of the day, the time, the purpose. That moment between sleep and waking feels like falling through myself. Loneliness lives there too, in the confusion of remembering that no one is waiting on the other side of consciousness. As evening approaches again, I prepare dinner, turn on lamps, repeat the cycle. Life has become repetition without anticipation. And yet, there's still something stubborn inside me that refuses to surrender entirely. I write letters I never send. Old-fashioned ones, on paper, with careful handwriting. I write to friends who have passed, to my husband, to younger versions of myself. I do not need replies. Writing is proof that I still have something to say, even if no one hears it. I volunteer again at the library the next day. A child drops a book, and I pick it up before they notice. They smile at me briefly, then run back to their parent. That smile stays with me longer than it should. Small acknowledgments carry more weight when they are rare. There are moments when loneliness feels like a physical thing, a pressure in the chest, a tightness behind the eyes. Those moments pass, but they leave residue. I have learned to sit with discomfort without dramatizing it. Old age teaches endurance whether you ask for it or not. People talk about legacy as if it is something you build intentionally. I think legacy is mostly accidental. It is the way you are remembered by those who noticed you. The problem with loneliness is not that no one loves you. It is that fewer and fewer people remember you actively. I wonder sometimes what will happen when I am gone. How long before the house belongs to someone else? How quickly my belongings will be sorted, donated, discarded? How many stories will vanish because no one asked for them in time? These thoughts are not morbid. They are practical. Old age strips away illusions. You stop pretending permanence is guaranteed. And still, I wake each day. I make coffee. I sit by the window. I go to the park. I volunteer. I remember. I exist. Loneliness has not defeated me.
It has changed me.
It has taught me patience, attention, and a deeper understanding of quiet suffering. It has taught me that being alive is not the same as being needed, and that lesson is one of the hardest to accept. The days continue to arrive whether I am ready for them or not. Morning no longer feels like a beginning, only a signal that another stretch of hours must be carried. I wake with a dull awareness that nothing urgent waits for me, and that knowledge settles heavily before my feet even touch the floor. I pause at the edge of the bed, gathering the small motivation required to stand. Motivation has become something I ration carefully. The bathroom mirror greets me with honesty I did not ask for. My face has softened in places and sharpened in others. Lines run deeper around my mouth, not from laughter alone, but from years of holding words back. I study myself longer than necessary, not out of vanity, but recognition. Some mornings I need to remind myself that this person is still me, that aging has not erased identity, only altered its outline. I shower slowly, letting warm water do what it can to loosen stiffness from my joints and thoughts from my mind. The sound fills the room, momentarily pushing back the silence. When I turn the water off, the quiet returns instantly, as if it had been waiting just outside the door. I dry off, dress carefully, choosing clothes as if someone might see me, even though I know no one will. Breakfast follows the same pattern as every other day.
Toast.
Fruit.
Coffee.
I sit at the table and eat without distraction, something I once found impossible when life was busy. Now, there is nothing competing for my attention except memory. Sometimes I eat quickly to shorten the morning. Sometimes I eat slowly to make it last. Either way, time moves the same. I open the newspaper, more out of habit than interest. Headlines blur together. Crises come and go. Wars begin and end. Markets rise and fall. The world continues loudly, aggressively, while my own life has become quiet to the point of fragility. I wonder how many stories like mine exist unnoticed beneath the noise. After breakfast, I step outside for a short walk. The air feels different now that my body pays attention to it. Cold lingers longer. Heat weighs heavier. I walk carefully, aware of cracks in the sidewalk, of uneven ground. Falling is no longer an inconvenience. It is a threat. Independence feels delicate, like glass I carry everywhere. Neighbors pass with polite nods. Some smile kindly. Some look away. They do not mean harm. They simply have no place to put me in their busy narratives. I am not part of their future, only a background detail in their present. When I return home, I sit again by the window. This has become my anchor point, the place where the inside and outside of my life meet. I watch clouds move slowly. Cars pass quickly. Seasons shift without apology. Time does not slow for anyone, but it feels especially unforgiving when you have more behind you than ahead. I think often about conversation, about how much of life is shaped by it, the casual exchanges that build intimacy without effort, the shared complaints, jokes, observations. Without conversation, days feel unfinished, like letters never mailed. I replay old conversations sometimes, not because they were extraordinary, but because they remind me what it felt like to be heard without trying. The phone rings occasionally. Telemarketers, mostly. Automated voices asking if I need services I do not want. I answer anyway sometimes, just to hear another human cadence, even if it is scripted. When the call ends, the silence feels sharper than before. I try to keep my mind active. Crossword puzzles, books, writing.
But focus slips more easily now.
Thoughts drift. I reread paragraphs without remembering them. Concentration feels like something that once belonged to me and has since moved on. In the afternoons, fatigue settles without warning. Not the satisfying kind that comes from effort, but a hollow tiredness that seems to come from simply being awake. I rest when I need to. There is no one to judge my pace anymore. Dreams visit more frequently during naps. They are vivid, disorienting, filled with faces from the past placed in unfamiliar settings. When I wake, it takes time to separate memory from imagination. The past feels closer than the present some days, more tangible, more populated. I wonder sometimes if loneliness is partly the mind's refusal to let go. If the ache comes from holding on too tightly to versions of life that no longer exist. Letting go feels like betrayal, though, like erasing proof that love once mattered. Evenings arrive again. I prepare dinner, turn on lamps, repeat familiar motions. The ritual comforts me even as it reminds me of repetition.
Eat, clean, seat.
I listen to the house settle into night. Old pipes knock softly. The wind presses against the windows. These sounds have become companions of sorts, predictable and indifferent. I write again, filling pages with thoughts no one has requested. I write about the day, even when nothing happened, especially when nothing happened. Recording existence feels important when it is otherwise unacknowledged. There are moments when fear creeps in quietly. Fear of illness, fear of falling, fear of dying unnoticed. I push those thoughts away gently, knowing resistance only strengthens them. Instead, I focus on what I can still do. Walk,
Read, write.
remember. Memory has become my most crowded room. It holds laughter, arguments, mistakes, triumphs. It holds people who no longer exist anywhere else. I visit that room often, not to escape the present, but to keep the past alive in a way that feels respectful rather than desperate. Sometimes I imagine someone knocking on my door unexpectedly. Not with urgency, not with obligation, just with curiosity. Someone who wants to sit and listen, or talk, or simply share silence without explanation. I know this is unlikely. Hope in old age becomes quieter too. Still, I wake each day. I participate in my life as fully as it allows. Loneliness has not erased meaning entirely. It has narrowed it, distilled it, forced me to find value in smaller things. I am still here. I am still aware. I am still capable of noticing beauty, even when it arrives briefly and leaves without warning. And as long as I can notice, as long as I can remember, as long as I can put one word after another, this story continues.